Euromaxx highlights. Coming up on the show, Sacred Surprise. 3 priests from Northern Ireland storm the charts. Holiday hobby. Playing with model railways is a good way to bond. Pool pictures. Thomas Röhr and his underwater portraits. Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Karin Helmstedt.
Greetings from Berlin and welcome to our Highlights edition. Well, it's one of the drawbacks of being in a cultural metropolis that huge crowds are a fact of life when visiting museums or special exhibitions. In Paris, for instance, it's nothing unusual to wait in line for 2 to 3 hours before you can even purchase a ticket. But thanks to a new agency called Paris Privé, this doesn't have to be a problem anymore. And for a steep price, you can get exclusive access to some of the French capital's most prestigious places.
The Musée dOrsay in the center of Paris receives more than 12,000 visitors a day. But if you like, you can have the art museum all to yourself, with the help of Christine Coulot. Her agency, Paris Privé, specializes in giving firms or individuals private viewings of some of the most popular places in Paris.
I hit upon the idea in New York. I had my tourist guide in my hand and said to myself, this city is great, there's so much to see. But I dreaded to have to queue for 2 hours along with countless other tourists to see the artworks in the Guggenheim Museum. And that's how I came upon the idea of Paris Privé.
Today, Christine Coulot has arranged a private trip to the Musée dOrsay for her clients. The Frenchman and his Australian partner are welcomed personally by the head of the agency. The museum is closed at night, at least officially. The Musée dOrsay is housed in a former railway station that dates from the year 1900. It's one of Paris's most visited museums. Not that these two artificionados notice, they get to savor the 4,000 artworks spread across 16,000 square meters of exhibition space completely alone. The current exhibition includes Edouard Manet's famous painting, Le Déjeuner sur l'herbe, Lunch on the Grass, from 1862, which was given a modern spin in 1961 by Pablo Picasso.
Here today, we have this feeling of owning the place almost, because it's all ours. We are free to go where we want. We see the pictures in whichever order it's really a different, completely different sentiment from a normal visit.
It's quiet. You can pass from one room to the next. You can feel just be there and feel all the paintings and look around and watch, and it's not that you're wondering where you're walking and then there's people here or you just feel the silence that's here now in the museum.
The outstanding collection of Impressionist paintings includes works by Claude Monet, Auguste Renoir, and Vincent van Gogh. This experience comes at a price. It costs 15,000 euros for a visit like this.
Anyone who spends this kind of money must have a passion for art. The people that come to us want to have a tête-à-tête with a particular artwork, such as Déjeuner sur l'herbe. Then there are others who are celebrities who would rather go into a museum on their own and not be disturbed by other people. And then we have customers who want to experience something exclusive, something out of the ordinary, having the Musée dOrsay completely to themselves.
Tout simplement parce que c'est une autre expérience de vivre une visite d'Orsay seule.
2 hours later, and the romantic museum visit is over.
Well, that was a wonderful experience. We'll remember that for a long time to come. And next time we're in a museum when there's lots of people, we're sure to remember being in a museum when there's no one else.
You can now make exclusive visits to almost all of Paris's attractions, except for one. The Eiffel Tower is still only open for public viewing.
Well, whether you're into the old classics or the more recent pop versions of Christmas tunes, the holiday season is a real celebration for the music industry. Despite the advent of computer downloads, CDs do remain a popular gift, and this year, sacred music from Northern Ireland sold particularly well. The Priests is more than just a group name, but also a real vocation, as three Catholic priests who share a love of singing have recorded their first album, and it's just set a record for fastest-selling UK debut in a classical genre.
David DeLargy, Eugene and Martin O'Hagan are not just priests, they're the Priests, currently the most hyped new music act in Northern Ireland.
This is not something that we sought, that we didn't go looking for this. We didn't put ourselves out there in the hope that somebody like Sony would come along and sign us up. We're very pleased, but I mean, very surprised. We didn't expect that. And as it has unfolded, you know, the success of the album is something that we didn't envisage or never expected.
Hannistown is a parish on the western outskirts of Belfast. This is the place that David DeLargy calls home. As parish priest, he oversees christenings, weddings, and funerals. Father David, as he's known, says his work means he'll stay grounded. Showbiz is unlikely to turn his head.
We have an obligation as priests to our parishioners. That has to be a priority for us as priests. That is our calling, our vocation in life. And we have to give that first place. And we had to be very clear with Sony when we were discussing the details of a contract that we simply couldn't be available for them to the same extent as other groups.
The Priests have actually been singing together for 30 years. They were first given music lessons as pupils at boarding school, and music remained an essential part of their lives when they studied at Belfast's Queen's University.
There are new dimensions to the whole project that are revealed to us as we go along. For example, that we didn't imagine that we would have recorded part of the album in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, and that was fantastic.
When they visited Rome after studying at the seminary, they began singing in the Vatican choir. At home in Ballyclare, life for Eugene O'Hagan is more down to earth. The congregation's charity drive before Christmas is a laborious business, but that's part of being a priest. Father Eugene tries to brave the rain with humor, but he's showing the strains of the past weeks.
The intensity of what we've been doing recently has made us, I suppose, quite tired. When we get to Christmas Day and after the Christmas masses, and I go home to my family and my father, I'd probably fall asleep in the chair, I'd imagine, maybe for a few days.
The people in the little Northern Irish town support their project. Most here are proud that the Priests have made it to the top.
The music is absolutely brilliant. Now, I wouldn't normally be into that, but it is fantastic, absolutely.
It's wonderful. Wonderful. I'm very proud of them, very proud.
We are doing what we've always been doing, and now it's on a larger scale, but we haven't changed in any way. It's just who we are.
Of course, the Priests are happy about their success, even if they don't measure it solely against worldly standards.
Sometimes people say to us that they have been very consoled by the music or uplifted by it, or that it made them weep in a good sense. You know, they have been touched by it in some way. That's success in another way, isn't it?
Maybe the secret of the priests is that despite their success, their feet are still on the ground. They have donated most of their pay to charity, and so the priests remain what they've always been, simple priests with glad tidings, and not just at Christmas time.
Well, typically over the holidays, there's lots of picture taking in front of the Christmas tree, opening the presents, carving the turkey or the goose, etc. But for those of you who find the classical portrait posing a bit of a chore, Dresden-based photographer Thomas Röhr has a way to lighten things up a bit, and his subjects literally float for the camera.
Thomas Röhr is not your average photographer. His place of work is a swimming pool. That's because Röhr has specialized in taking pictures underwater.
The thing that fascinates me about working underwater is the technology that I use. It's the feeling of weightlessness and that I'm doing something special.
Today, the 35-year-old is shooting pictures in the eastern German city of Dresden. The subject in front of the lens is 24-year-old childcare worker Lisa Purscher.
It was a new experience for me. I wasn't sure where I should be looking. The diver, the photographer, was very blurred. The light was my only point of orientation. It was very difficult in the beginning to stay underwater because I kept getting driven back up to the surface.
And this is what the finished product looks like. Thomas Röhr is happy with the results. Lisa is the perfect underwater model because she's not a professional.
As a photographer, it's very easy posing the women and girls underwater because they are very natural, and that's what makes it so interesting to work with amateurs.
Röhr has photographed both large and small subjects in the pool. Most of them were wearing a bikini. One of them even wore a wedding dress. The idea of specializing in underwater photography happened 4 years ago as Röhr was going for a swim with his baby boy.
I completed a course in scuba diving and then made many dives. Deep dives, cave dives, ice dives. And then my son was born, and I went for a baby swim with him, and that's where I discovered that babies can swim underwater. I couldn't resist bringing my scuba diving gear and my cameras along as well, both above and below the water, to film him.
Other parents then asked him to film their babies and take pictures of them underwater. Babies as models, however, have an easier time than professionals. Their natural breathing reflex helps them to look good even underwater. To have a photo session with Röhr, you need 280 euros and the ability to hold your breath for a long time.
And back on land, many people look forward to the Christmas holidays to enjoy a little downtime, to play with their new gifts or to catch up on their hobbies. And despite the fact that according to all the surveys, high-tech gadgets were top of the list this year, old-fashioned model trains still offer hours of hands-on entertainment for boys both tall and small.
Just a turn of the dial on the transformer and the train sets off. It's rush hour on the Kramer family's model railway. Don't go too fast, or there could be an accident. Oh, no real damage done. The Kramers are model railway enthusiasts. And for the moment, Daddy Kramer is the boss.
I only play with my father. It's no fun playing on your own. I also don't know how the engines are attached. And I never know which plug is the right one.
That's what Matthias Kramer is here for. He knows his model railway better than anyone else. He's been using these very same tracks since he was a child 30 years ago. There have been a few changes. Things have modernized.
Personally, I like tinkering a lot. You can build houses and you can lay the tracks as many different ways as you like. But of course, playing with the trains is the most fun. That's what a model railway is really about, and not just putting things in a display case, watching them gather dust. It's about playing with the locomotives, making them go. That's still the most interesting thing.
The Kramers are visiting the model railway store, Deutschland Express, in Gelsenkirchen. They're here to get inspiration for their own railway at home. The store's model is spread over 700 square meters and has 250 trains traveling along more than 4 kilometers of track. One of the latest developments in the world of model railways is a train equipped with a miniature camera. You need a pair of goggles to see the image.
This all looks very strange. And now I can see a train driving past me. I can see trees and the next tunnel.
A model railway for the next generation. What does Matthias think about it?
It's a fantastic toy because you can see things from a different perspective. But it can't replace the locomotives, and it can't replace playing with the trains because you're missing the sense of touch. At the end of the day, you're just looking at how a train travels through a landscape. I don't think it will last.
Back home to the Kramers' own model railway. It may be less fancy and not so high-tech, but at least Jan and Matthias have the feeling they are really needed here. After all, who else will take care of the catastrophes? Whether it's a high-tech camera train or the good old steam locomotive, model railways have a bright future ahead of them.
And don't forget that if you'd like to see any of our highlights reports again, you can find us now on YouTube. And with that, that brings us to the end of this edition. Hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you next time. Until then, tschüss and auf Wiedersehen.